tab is an easier way of reading music. You might have seen or heard people talk about standard notation, which is the more traditional classical method of reading music. Tab crops up a lot with guitar and bass. It's basically a very visual way of reading the music. The only disadvantage you have is you can't really read the rhythm, so you kind of have to know the rhythm. I teach this tab because it's very easy to pick up. Most people want to get playing, so this is why we're just going to look at tab right away. Now you can see, I'm going to do the little exercise that appears first of all in the book, where you place your guitar on your lap and you look straight down at the strings. Now this is a really good way of remembering how the actual tab line system works, because a lot of beginner players tend to get it upside down. So for instance, always look down, and when you look down at your 6 strings, you'll be seeing exactly what's represented on the page. And what I mean by that is that the thin string, as you look down, appears at the top of the page, the thick string at the bottom. It can lead, if you get mixed up, to something like, which would probably be played on a thicker string. People tend to play it. That doesn't sound right. Well, I always say to a student, put your guitar on your lap, look down. What have you done wrong? It's the thick string. It's a classic mistake, right? I've just got my Kindle here. Let's move on. So thin string and thick string is very important. On to the next exercise. Keep that in mind just before you play this one. You have to play the first fret. So remember what I said about frets. Here's fret 1. You want to place your finger, in this case any finger, I don't mind which, behind the fret, as close as possible really, to that first fret, just behind it. And of course, you're going to check it's the thin string, just that one string. On to exercise 3, sorry. A zero represents an open string. It's very simple, so no hands here. You can just leave this hand and play. Is it the thin or the thick? Well, have a check. It's the thin string. Exercise 4. Now, when these the zeros appear in a line, kind of when I like to think of it as that's how my hand should go. I should just play all the strings at once. Now, on to the next exercise, because I want to come back to exercise 4. On to exercise 5. You'll notice that when they appear one after another, you have to play them just like that, one after another. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4. In future, which finger will make a difference, but for now I'm just going to use finger 1 because it's simpler, okay? So it says fret 1, so finger just behind fret 1. Now it says 2, so you're going to go up just behind fret 2, just behind fret 3, and fret 4. And here's a very similar one, except now you're playing 2 strings at once. Now, again, it doesn't matter how you play it. Some people would choose to play it with 2 fingers. They might find that easier. Others like to kind of try and do both at once. At this stage, it doesn't matter. We're just learning how to read the tab. So, as you can see, you're going to go fret 1 on this, the thin string, E string, and the one above it, which is the B string. Then you're going to move that up to fret 2, exactly the same shape. And then fret 3. And finally, fret 4. Now, I kind of whizzed past exercise 4 because although it's a simple thing that will come up quite a lot, whether they're all in a line, where you just strum it once. One thing people tend to kind of get confused about is this more advanced technique, which is in exercise 7. It doesn't come up that often as a beginner, but it's important to make the distinction now. Now, as I said before, exercise 4 was all in a straight line. So imagine you're reading across the page, they all appear at once. Here, they are one after another, but because they go across the strings, it does seem a little confusing. It doesn't really mean you have to move your hand like that specifically. It just means you're going to read one at a time. So the first one, if you're just reading across, is the thin E, and then the B, the G, the D, the A, and finally the E. So this is the kind of one of the main important things about a tab, is always to read across, take in every note that comes up. And that's pretty much it for the first part of this introduction chapter. So just remember frets, machine heads, your finger numbering. So it's always the fretting hand, T, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't matter if you want to use your fingers or a plectrum, just whatever's comfortable. Always use a good tuner, a good metronome, and work through those tab exercises more than once, because I'd be very impressed if you understood it the first time through. It's a tricky technique, the whole tab thing, but with a little bit of work, those are the key exercises. Look at them once or twice, maybe every practice until it's really in your head.